Every day, millions of people around the world go to work with simple expectations. They expect to provide for their families and pay their bills, and they expect to return to the warmth and comfort of their families at the end of each day. Stories of workplace disasters. The headlines are shocking. Each year, hundreds of thousands of people are killed or disabled or suffer from occupational disease as a result of workplace hazards. But most work-related deaths and injuries never make the news.
I've been in pain every day for the last 7 years.
It's not worth it. I've had surgery here and surgery in here.
We contracted ourselves to work 40 hours a week. We didn't contract our lives.
It's unbelievable.
Too many of us have died, brothers and sisters. For too long we have been poisoned and crippled and maimed and murdered. It's not enough to know what is wrong and to know how to fix it. We must have the power that it takes to make the changes.
Each year, April 28th marks the Day of Mourning. Communities across the country remember those killed and injured on the job. It was on April 28th in 1914 that the first Comprehensive Workers' Compensation Act received third reading in the Ontario legislature. Workers would no longer have to sue their employers for injuries. While this victory helped families financially, it did little to alleviate their feelings of grief and anger. For co-workers, it did little good to witness their fellow workers die while the causes of these deaths were left unaddressed. The problem of unsafe working conditions was compounded by the proliferation of chemicals and increasing industrialization in the post-war period. Workers saw each other develop cancer and other diseases. And in the 1960s and 70s, pressure began to build as workers questioned whether there could be a common workplace connection. In many communities, workers and families organized small gatherings to publicly mourn the tragic deaths that no one else would recognize. They knew these deaths could have been prevented. In Northern Ontario, the miners were developing cancers and silicosis at an alarming rate. Families were grief-stricken. In the union halls, emotions ran high. Workers called repeatedly for the mine owners and the government to recognize the workplace causes and to take action to prevent more injuries and deaths. To no avail. It soon became clear that the workers could not sit back and accept denials any longer. They began to mobilize, researching workplace links and educating themselves about the health effects of the hazards they faced. The boiling point was reached when, in desperation, the miners of Elliott Lake staged a wildcat strike, protesting the abhorrent health and safety conditions they faced every day. They enlisted the help of the opposition at Queen's Park. Stephen Lewis and Eli Martel brought the issue to a head, alerting the public to the plight of the miners.
Nothing ever made me angrier in my political life than what was done to the workers of Elliott Lake. You see that people are dying because of their jobs. You see that the companies don't care. The government doesn't care. What are you supposed to do?
I don't believe one worker should lose his life to make a profit for some damn company. I don't care which company.
The outcry led to a royal commission to investigate health and safety conditions in the mines and ultimately to the adoption of Ontario's Occupational Health and Safety Act. It was a breakthrough for Ontario workers. Building on this victory in the early 1980s, unions led by the Ontario Federation of Labour launched a new wave of education to inform workers about workplace hazards and their new rights. As health and safety education programs and political task forces surged across the province, workers came together. More stories of unsafe workplaces were revealed. And on June 20th, 1984, another workplace disaster. 4 miners died tragically in Sudbury when they were trapped underground.
It got to a level that it was fairly dramatic. As every incident of accident and death was relayed to the media and to the people of the province of Ontario. And I think they came to the conclusion that they had to do something.
They determined to adopt a national day of mourning to recognize all workers killed and injured on the job. Their pledge? Mourn for the dead, fight for the living. The date chosen was April 28th. They sought the support of municipalities, social action groups, and other organizations. Monuments honoring the dead were erected. Support for the day of mourning has grown with each passing year. In 1990, New Democratic Party MP Rod Murphy introduced a private member's bill calling upon the Government of Canada to recognize the Day of Mourning. The Workers' Mourning Day Act was passed in 1991. Canada would now officially recognize April 28th as the day to acknowledge those killed and injured on the job. In the years that followed, the determination of Canadian workers to mourn for the dead and fight for the living has had a profound effect on countries around the world.
Our counterpart in the United States, the AFL-CIO, has also followed our lead and has proclaimed April 28th as their Workers' Memorial Day for workers injured and killed in the workplace. Poland and Romania have also expressed a strong interest, and we look forward to the time when injured and killed workers around the world are remembered in the solemn day of recognition, April 28th.
The International Confederation of Free Trade Unions now holds an International Commemoration Day for dead and injured workers at the United Nations Commission on Sustainable Development in New York. Today, over 80 countries observe a day of mourning for fallen workers, making it a truly global event. Many more sign on each year. The Day of Mourning has resonated in countries around the world for good reason. Internationally, workers are reported to be dying at a rate of 2 million each year. Some are killed in occupational accidents, while an untold number succumb to cancers and other occupational diseases after being exposed to toxic chemicals in the workplace. Canadian estimates put the direct and indirect costs of occupational injuries at over $17 billion per year. If all injuries were reported, the impact would be much higher. To spouses, children, parents, and friends, the financial cost of workplace tragedy is unimportant at best. They don't measure their losses on a spreadsheet. Such is the case of Rob Ellis and his son, David.
Dave was the kind of kid who would never ask. He just did the job. On February 11th of this year, David was killed on a large industrial mixer in a local bakery. It was only his second day on the job. David went, and unexpectedly, totally unexpected, and because it's caused great pain for our family and those who knew it.
We never thought it could happen to anyone around us or anyone close to us, but it has, and that has really affected all of us.
Memorial services offer an outlet for families and co-workers to mourn the tragedies that have changed their lives forever. The mission to mourn for the dead and fight for the living grows ever stronger.
I'm pleased to welcome you on behalf of the Labour Council of Metro Toronto and New York Region to this, one of the most solemn days and one of the most important days in the Labour calendar of this year or any year.
Across Canada, public events mark the Day of Mourning with fitting commemoratives to those who lived and died in each community. Trade unions and thousands of supporters voice their support. In ceremonies befitting each town and city, workers and families continue to remember those lost and injured. Through their legacies, the fallen pass the torch to family, friends, and fellow workers to continue the fight for improved working conditions. Wreaths are laid in solemn ceremonies. Flags fly at half-mast. Workers march. And poems are read while candlelit ceremonies light up the darkness. In so many different ways, we remember. And together, we can take action to create safer work environments so workers can live full lives in dignity and health, not in premature death, disease, pain, and disfigurement. Unions continue to educate their members and the public about workplace health and safety. Through all of these efforts, we have the chance to build support for change and to improve working conditions. Mourn for the dead. Fight for the living. Remember those that have gone. But then do more. Organize. Speak out about workplace hazards. Ask questions. Arm yourself with information. Be heard. And never stop fighting to improve working conditions. These are efforts of which Canadians can be proud.
8 long days and some were rescued, leaving the dead to lie alone. All their lives they dug their graves, 2 miles of earth for a marking stone, 2 miles of earth for a marking stone. In the town of Spring Hill you don't sleep easy. Often the earth will tremble and roll. When the earth gets restless, miners die. Bone and blood is the price of coal. Bone and blood is the price of coal.